It's not humming. It's when somebody says something amazing. You say, because the Lord granted them victory, and you go, All right. Howdy, everybody.
It's not that slow.
We're back.
And it's not that loud.
It's like this.
Don't judge me.
Okay. Anyways, welcome back, everybody. I hope you have lots of questions, because I do. All right, let's pray in. And thank you, Father, for this opportunity again to study your word and for us to share in your righteousness through your Son, Jesus Yeshua. And we're very grateful for that. And we ask for you to send the Comforter to us, to teach us, to answer our questions, and to provide the insight into your word and give us understanding. We thank you for that. In Jesus Yeshua's name, amen. All right, let's see here. So, Exodus chapter 13. Who's got what?
I'm in the wrong spot.
You're in the wrong. Okay, well, that's fine. We'll still try to keep it in order. Oops, I forgot that part. There we go. There we go. Okay, what?
No, I was just gonna say something that jumped out at me just because I've been kind of studying back through Genesis, and I was just reading where Joseph was buried and he was put in a tomb, and I guess because I was like focused on that, I was thinking like it's going down this pathway of like is he still there and all that. I never realized that they took the bones with them, and that's all. It just
Right?
Yeah, I didn't have a point to it. I guess I was just saying I was diving into that in Genesis and thinking that maybe he was still there and where the tomb is, but it just kind of jumped out at me because I just read that yesterday.
Well, they fought over his bones, right?
No, you're thinking of Moses.
Oh, you mean Joseph? Sorry.
They took
Clearly,
Joseph.
I'm not paying attention. I was going to say, like, they carried his bones, so they carried his dead body with them.
Right.
No, was it?
His flesh has fallen off, and it was just his bones, a little bag of bones or something. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting.
He was in the house of Pharaoh, right? And he was shaved clean like Pharaoh. Right?
It's interesting that they use the word bones and not body.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Did they embalm him, where they pull all the organs out and put them in jars? And he said, take my bones back to Egypt?
Well, it said he was embalmed.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had like 70 days or 40 days. Don't the Egyptians use like 40 days or 70 days of mourning or whatever? They have the body with them or something?
40 days.
And then after that time, they took the body?
Oh, propped up by the jukebox?
Weekend at Joseph.
Sacrilege.
Yeah.
It's 70 days for the embalming process and 40 days of mourning.
Right. So they had him at least that long.
Yeah.
Plus an additional 429 years and however many days. Okay. What else? Exodus 16.
Wait, you're missing
14.
Or I'm sorry.
14 and then 15.
Sorry,
You tell him, Gwen.
I got that Gwen Rona virus.
I was just going to say.
Well, I never noticed chapter 19 and 20 before, and that like he divided them with that cloud, and I just never noticed that before. That's fascinating.
Right. He has a buffer between Israel and the Egyptians.
Mm-hmm. It's like, how come I don't remember this? It's fascinating how he separated them from their enemy.
Yeah, and it does kind of speak to me as to when their hearts are so hardened. Either they're so used to seeing, like, things that today we would consider supernatural, or their hearts are so hardened at the point of seeing all of that fire, separating them from hurting the Israelites, and it's still like, we're gonna pursue them though. We gotta, that's a really, to me, it just speaks to like a serious heart of stone and cruel intent to try and devour who you consider to be your enemy, while dismissing something so supernatural, heavenly anointing and protection that like, no, I'm just gonna kill him. I don't,
Well, I think because they had sorcerers and all kinds of stuff doing all kinds of tricks, right? And backflips and stuff. I think ultimately when you live a certain life, a certain way of life, when the truth comes to you, whether like even the Egyptians, or not the Egyptians, the Israelites, like in chapter 14, when it was talking about in chapter 14 verse 11.
Skipping chapters, and now we're on chapter 14.
I mean, I thought we were already on chapter 14. To be honest, I did. But like you can I keep commenting? Because it's relevant. You have the heart of the Egyptians, right? Like Landon was saying. But it seems like the heart of the Egyptians and the Israelites were almost the same. Because verse 11, and they said unto Moses, because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore thou hast dwelt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt. Okay, so
Well,
they
that's
still.
not
Well, it is, but it's ignorance, right? It's
Right.
ignorance. They don't know, they don't understand, and neither did the Egyptians. They didn't understand or comprehend, and so neither did the Israelites, right?
Well,
so you have these two people.
That's got me thinking now, which is dangerous. But you, as you mentioned, take the bones of Joseph, but right when they say later on in Scripture where it talks about, they've never seen anything like it in all of Jacob. When they're talking about taking the bones of Joseph, is that just Joseph the person, or is that all of Joseph's descendants after that? Was it a caravan of people?
Ooh, that's really interesting. Because they all end up being bones anyway, because they all die. But anyway, okay, wait. I have this thing. I was talking yesterday with my husband about attempting to have this conversation about. You have to know him to understand what I mean by that. Okay, so yesterday I was trying to have this conversation with someone that I knew didn't have a certain frame of mind. Many of us do, right? Where you can't think differently because you're so accustomed to a way of life. Even if someone presents you with the logic behind, the truth and the logic behind how we should be behaving differently, we should be acting differently. Our food doesn't come from the grocery store. It doesn't come from Egypt. It comes from Abba. And he gives us the ability to do stuff, right? But people that are so ingrained in Babylon and Egypt can't act or behave differently because in their mind, they can't adhere themselves to that truth, that logic. They're so accustomed to the fallacy and the comfort of Egypt that we can't understand that we need to be independent and codependent on Abba, not on the system. So anyway, it just kind of was attached to that. Like the Egyptians and the Israelites right now are still the same to me. Like Abba loves one more than the other, clearly, and he's rescuing them, but they're still behaving the same in my book. One's being saved and still acting like a buffoon, and the other one isn't being saved and behaving like a buffoon. So there's still no difference between them except for, Abba's trying to lead them out and getting them to smarten up. But anyways, the end.
Okay, what about 14? Has anybody got anything over
Worried, but thou.
Wait, were we just talking about 14?
there? Someone was. That I didn't write much down today, so I'm relying on all of you.
Honor and the people vision. It kind
All
of
right,
jumped
next up
in.
for 15.
It was interesting to me, just as we were reading, I was thinking of the fierce anger and pursuit of the Egyptians, and where I don't know, I guess I was trying to imagine at 24, and in the morning, and that also made me think of this long process of walking across the sea throughout the night, and all that. But and the crowd looked down on the Egyptian forces and threw the Egyptian forces into a panic, flogging the chariot wheels so that they drove heavily. I don't know. I don't really. I guess I don't have. I'm not trying to make too much of a point. Is that I was just envisioning all that, and it's kind of what does that mean though? Where it says he clogs their wheels so that they drove heavily. Like, does that mean like the wheel broke, but they're still trying to get the horses to pull the chariot? Or
When that came up, and I don't know that I've looked at that before, but when it came up now, I envisioned how, like, when you walk through muddy clay or clay mud,
yeah.
and it starts piling up on your shoes until your foot weighs like 8 or 9 or 10 pounds each. That's how I envisioned the chariot wheels just getting caked up so that they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it says binding in the Septuagint. Or compared to the Samaritan Septuagint, it says binding instead of clogging. But yeah, that's all right. I'm done. Done with my thought. Sorry.
I think it's pretty crazy how, they had this cloud of smoke basically between them and the Egyptians. Then it gets taken away and they still pursue into the sea. Even seeing that, it's like, man, they were really mad to be able to go in there and know it's possible for that just to collapse on them.
Did anybody's mom or grandma or dad or anybody say, "I'm so mad I can't see straight"?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I think that's the same thing. You're just like you're focused, and you're focused on your anger and staying angry, and you can't clearly see what could possibly be happening around you.
Yeah, like there will be many that will be deceived in the last day, right? Stuff will be happening right around them, but
Well, look at the stuff that's happening now around people that are professing faith, and they don't see it.
yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the inverse, like you were saying.
Yeah.
A minute ago.
Sin gives us spiritual vertigo.
Yeah. Gives us.
Well, I think that there's people that see, but when you don't respond to what you see, your heart becomes hard. And I think that a hard heart doesn't always mean that you're it doesn't always mean that you're a hard person. I think it just means that you become blind, you become indifferent, you become lukewarm, right? I forgot about the chat. I'm sorry, everybody. No, I'll stay focused. I'll stay focused. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, I should have said just hi, everybody. I don't have the chat, but I love y'all. Anyway, can we go to chapter 15?
Well, wait. What else is for you? Okay, fine.
Wait.
We'll go to 15.
Okay. This is stunning. Verse 2. This is a familiar verse to us. And Yahuwah is my strength and song, and he is become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him a habitation. My Father's God, I will exalt him. Isn't that like a psalm? Isn't that a psalm somewhere? He is my
Yeah.
strength and my song. He is my salvation. I will prepare a place for him. This is one of those verses where, as a Christian, you just don't realize that it was written way before the New Testament. It's just so ignorant of me. I felt falling for that. But it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. I will prepare an habitation. I will prepare a place for you with my Father in his house. Oh, it's just beautiful. Anyways, that's one.
I noticed that one of the prophetess was spoken of, the Miriam, brother or the sister of Moses.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that famous verse about, keeping the commandments, and I'll keep the diseases away from you.
Yeah. So that means that those diseases can still come again. They're not done away with.
Well, later on in Deuteronomy, it says that not only the diseases of the Egyptians, but many more. Right? In that, what do they boast of? It's so funny because it's not funny, but they boast of it now, saying, we are so smart, we're discovering new diseases every day. Well, are you discovering them or are we acquiring them?
I think we're just acquiring them because they're still there. There's nothing new under the sun, like the word tells us. So, they're always there, just waiting to grab on to you when you're not living the way you should be.
Right?
I just seen
I have something in here I'm fascinated by. They came up to that water and it was bitter. So then Joshua shows them the tree to throw in the water and it makes it sweet. Okay, what kind of tree was that? I need to know. Was it a lemon tree? Because we know lemon purifies water, but that's crazy. Here's a tree, throw it in there, and now the water's sweet.
Well, now though, I'm sure you have come across this before, being in the desert as long as we have been, but you can take a prickly pear paddle or a section of columnar cactus, like an organ pipe or a saguaro or a barrel cactus, and put it in a container, a bucket of muddy water, muddy, gross, disgusting water, and over the course of a couple of hours, it'll filter it. It'll taste like cactus, but it'll be cleansed. And I know, I think it was Zach Bauer talking about it's the same thing if you take clams or mussels or oysters and throw them in a disgusting, nasty bucket of water. Within a period of time, you have clear, pristine water. Where'd all the poison go?
Well, you can do that with seawater. Everybody would carry raisins with them because you can make seawater into fresh water with raisins. Because the raisins suck up all the salt.
And then you have deliciousness for cooking.
Yes.
Well, there was a fad a few years ago with a lot of people locally that were building these swimming pools, but they were natural swimming pools, and the concept was just to have the water circulating, but it was run off of plants, just certain specific plants, and it's crystal clear water, which seems a lot cooler than chlorine. But.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, good one, GR. Yep, it's interesting that one wood will sweeten the water, yet wormwood will turn it bitter.
Yeah.
Good one. I wasn't even thinking about wormwood.
Wormwood. Okay, anyways.
Worm.
What else? Anything else for 15? I got something for 15.
But
12
I was just
of water and 70 palm trees.
Yes.
12 tribes of Israel, minus the priests, right? Minus the Levites, which serve in the temple. So you have 12 tribes. And then 70 palm trees, there were supposed to be how many peoples after the fall of the Tower of Babel?
Right.
70 nations, right? 70 tongues. So that's all. There's something there. There's something there. Palm trees, they use the palm leaves to represent royalty, to cover the path of the world. There's a whole bunch tied up in that.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, kind of back to where, whenever Gwen was mentioning the first part of the song, as it goes a little bit further down, verse 3, it says, "The Lord is a man of war." I know it's pretty elementary, but it just kind of spoke to me about the whole, like, saved by grace, I can live however I want. You know, it's not just the peace loving Jesus. You know, it's like, it's serious.
It is serious. Yeah. You know, it also isn't David told that he will not build the temple because he's a man of war?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
You can make a tabernacle.
You can make a Sukkot.
It just shows that like this is making me think about how he has an order to things. He has a structure to, like, he has a method to why he's doing what he's doing. Like, and he also is just so merciful. But I think that, like, I was thinking about the Egyptians that, like, I'm going ahead a little bit in the Torah, but when you have some of the people that came with the Israelites, wasn't just all Israelites that escaped Egypt, right? It was other people. But then later on, if they wanted to be a part of worshiping and serving and living among the people of God, that they had to be circumcised. The men had to be circumcised, but they were allowed to participate in all the feasts and festivals, but they weren't allowed to, and they were allowed to eat the food that was offered, but they weren't allowed to bring the offering into the temple, right? It's just reminding me of what you just said about David. Like, yes, of course, I forgot about that. Like, David couldn't build the temple, but it just shows that he has a real structure to things. I mean, David is chosen to do mighty things. Like, Abba loves David.
Okay, now look at that. Who was man to build a house for the Lord?
Right.
So if the Lord is a man of war and cannot dwell, right? David can't build the temple because he's a man of war, and then a man can't build a temple for Yahuwah. I don't know. There's something there.
Interesting.
Okay. 16. What do we got? Ooh, bread from heaven.
This is cool because when I did the calendar like years ago, I followed this guy's rhythm of writing out, the days of the week, right? Take it or leave it. It's one of these things. But these next couple chapters, or this concept of the 6-day test, it makes me remember the calendar that I was writing out, and it writes out what they did and why they did it and all of this other stuff and what month it's in and all these other little details. But what I got from this back then was that it was only supposed to be for 6 days, that they were supposed to be tested. Like, I want to see if these people are going to listen to me. Let's just give them 6 days. It's their first test. I've rescued them. I've showed them. They've seen all the things that I've done for him. Now that I'm going to test them to get them to trust me, right? So all of that beforehand wasn't, to get them to listen and to follow, is to show you, right? Like you lead someone you lead someone to the truth, right? And you show them, you win them over without a word kind of thing, or you just be an example. So Abba was being an example, right? And then after that, you're tested. Are you going to trust me now? Let's just give you 6 days to see if you can handle it, right? Just 6 days. And they couldn't handle it. Their first test, they failed. I mean, we can be encouraged because how many tests have we failed that Abba's given us? He's shown us time and time and time and time and time again. And we become like Peter, time and time and time again. Peter saw Yeshua's, actions. And I don't know if he necessarily failed the test. I mean, I guess he would have gotten I don't know, 50 out of 100. I don't know, because he trusted him. He walked on water and then he slipped. Ye of little faith, right? So these people were of little faith. They had some, but they were of little faith. Anyway, not a whole lot in what I shared there, but.
Well, no, that's good. And I'm wondering where that little pot of manna is that they put aside for posterity.
Right.
Where's that little pot? I want to see that. Oh, I want to see that manna. That's cool.
But and then I would even I agree, but I would even say whenever you were saying this the first test, they didn't even gather up what was that, 18? But when they measured it with an omer, whoever gathered much had nothing left over, and whoever gathered little had no lack. Each of them gathered as much as he could. Sorry, it's 18. Or 19. And Moses said to them, let no one leave any of it over till the morning. But they did not listen to Moses. Some left part of it till the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. Now, maybe, okay, technically that's not God telling them, don't leave any of it left over. But Moses was sort of anointed, sort of, right? To be the messenger, between them and God, and it got on his nerves that they just didn't listen, and now you have this blessing from above rotting around you because you didn't pick up the way that the one who's speaking directly with the Father has asked you to do. So a leader, the respected leader of the people. And they didn't listen.
Well, it shows you their stomachs, right? Their God was their stomach.
Just like ours.
Yeah, exactly. We become so accustomed to getting our food at the grocery store. We have
eating,
Yeah, too much. We're eating too much. So now when you take us out and we go camping, right? When you go camping, you don't have a fridge. You literally in your brain, I'm going to go for a 4-day camp. You're literally rationing. Okay, every day we're going to eat this. And then every day, this is how much we need for this. This is how much coffee we need because, sacred nectar is important. And you are rationing those 4 days perfectly when you go camping. But when you're not camping, you're at home. You're like, I've got instant, can put a pizza in the oven. Oh, I've got pierogies, or I've got lots of bread. Let's make you're not rationing anymore. You're no longer thinking.
Well,
you're no longer thinking about what you need for today because we have freezers and we have we have fridges and we have grocery stores.
But still, when you do have to budget, and I budget my coffee, I budget my sugar, the dog food. It's all budgeted. It's all I have this much for this. So this is how much I get. It's a budget, and I have to make it last to the next time. So I actually do budget my food.
See that it's rare. It's really rare. I think that you're the exception, one of many exceptions. There's lots of exceptions out there, but I just think that I don't know. I'll just have to use myself as an example. The more I have amenities at my beck and call, I use them.
Yeah,
I use them. I have internet. We're on internet. I have, satellite TV. Okay, well, later on I'll put the TV on. Or I think that like, this is the conversation I had last night. I said, what if the power went out? You know, like us that we're so used to being on the grid and plugged in. I mean, Matt, we can exclude Matt from this conversation, but I think that most of us are so accustomed to being so dependent on stuff that our brains aren't seeing that we're not exercising our faith. We're not exercising our faith and how we're supposed to be providing for ourselves daily. You know, like the Israelites, they didn't have to provide for themselves daily or weekly. They had it at their beck and call, right? So this 6-day test was obvious. It was their stomachs, you know, water. Anyway.
I thought it was interesting when they murmured against Moses and Aaron that God took it against him. They said that they were murmuring against him, not Moses.
Yeah. How do we tie that one into us right now?
Him. They were murmuring against
Are
him.
we doing the same thing?
We do when we are complaining and whining about things that aren't going right or whatever. We are murmuring against God. And God forbid that the earth would swallow us all up, you know? And I'm really guilty of running my mouth, really guilty of running it. So I've learned lately, I just keep that in mind. The desert could open up and swallow you down in there. So you better be quiet. You better stop complaining against Yah. Or just complaining in general and, you know,
Just
murmuring.
complaining in general. Yeah.
Right. Because it's an offense. It's offensive to him.
Still happening, actually. I mean, I think the last time 2016 was a very interesting year for me. I'll say that when I first began to have a dialogue between the Father and I again. And I remember watching a news reel of there was it wasn't an earthquake. It was a sinkhole somewhere. It was here in America. Might have been in California, but I think it was somebody's brother was living with him, and he was asleep in his bed, and the sinkhole opened up and swallowed him up, and the house was still there, but it was inside the house. I mean, he was asleep in his bed, and something just spoke to me. It just jumped out at me that I don't have any proof. I'm not going to accuse the man of anything, but you know, there was something there where God was drawing my attention to it, and the story of people being swallowed up because of things, and it got me to thinking. You know, nothing new under the sun in this day and age. I know nothing about this man, but it drew my attention back to, you know, some of the events that happen in the Bible. And I think that but the way that it was pitched to me was the thing that I was like, the way that the media of today just says, oh, it's a sinkhole, or it's just a freak accident because, you know.
Right, they put a scientific explanation on it.
Yes.
No need to fear God. No need to repent from your sins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to chapter 17. Anybody got anything? Or did Gwen already cover everything?
Oh, no. Isn't this the one where, wait. No.
This is water from the rock.
Mentions another prophetess, Deborah.
Oh, did you hear what they called her? The mother? Wait, we're still in Exodus. Are we supposed to
Yeah,
be?
she became like, oh, yeah, we're not in Judges yet.
Come on, Matt, you're baiting me.
Oops.
Yeah, what I was thinking about is the Judges, so forget that.
Okay, should we just go to Judges then?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are we doing Judges 4, or are you guys already up on 5?
Wait. Do you guys know a little bit?
Back to Exodus.
No, just one question. Do you guys know any more about her? Like, it was Aaron and her that held up the hands of Moses, right?
Yeah.
Is there like? Do you guys know a little? I can't remember if I did know, but like, who is he? And
That's Ben-Hur.
He just died.
It's true, he did.
Come on, humans.
He was 103.
I'd like to know what Rephidim translates to. I know it's a different thing, but it sounds close to it. It means support.
Nobody knows anything about her. Okay, fine. It's not that. It's okay. It's not, I mean, it's important because he's special, but. Okay, where did it say that?
Oh, that's interesting in chapter 16, where he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
Huh.
That's it. That's quite interesting. Wow.
Okay. To answer your question real quick, this is dangerous because I can't proof it. I'm on Wikipedia. But just doing a quick, so that's why I said dangerous. But he's first mentioned here in the verse that we just read, and her is also mentioned as the grandfather of Bezalel, designated by God to be a principal creator of the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant. It is not certain that her is the same individual. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I
I'll
can't bet.
I'll have to pursue the answer myself, which I should anyway.
He's in a few different. He's in Exodus 2 or 3 times, and in Kings, and in Chronicles. So yeah, check him out. Anyway, just want to answer into that.
Verse 7. Judges 5, verse 7. That I arose the mother in Israel. That's a pretty powerful, like, there's a judge, she's a judge, yes, but a mother represents so much more. They chose new gods. Then was war in the gates. Was there, in a second, don't distract me. My heart told governors of Israel offended themselves ruling among the people. There's another, hang on a second. Should rehearse the righteous acts. I like that too, verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of Yahuwah, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Israel. Then shall the people of Yahuwah go down to the gates. Rehearse what acts? Like what acts? Like practicing war tactics? There's more to the story. Clearly there is. I mean, hello, duh. But
well, I mean that makes, and I don't want to tie this into Jericho, but there's different types of like war acts, and I mean that's what it kind of made me think of. Though I don't think that all of their wars were them just marching around and blasting trumpets, but in certain instances in the Bible they did. You know, it wasn't an actual physical fight; it was a spiritual thing, and relying on the Father to the obedience, you know, got them the result. But they may not be talking about that. I don't know.
okay, so then question, like, this is gonna sound so bad, but I don't care. Because I don't know the whole rhythm of the story. In verse 13 it says, then he made him that remaineth have dominion over the nobles among the people. Yahuwah made me have dominion over the mighty. Okay, so is Deborah having dominion over the mighty that remaineth? Because there were nobles among the people, right? So he made him that remaineth have dominion. Who is that person? Over the nobles. So somebody is having dominion over the nobles, but Deborah is having dominion over mighty. Who is that? Him. Oh, him. him Abba? Like then he made him that remaineth. Oh, I don't know.
Where are you at?
Verse 13, 5 verse 13. Awake, awake, Deborah, awake, awake, utter a song. Arise, Barak, and lead, okay, is it Barak? Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of, captivity captive?
Yeah, this is them singing about the battle they just won.
I know, but Yeshua took captivity captive. Sorry, it's another phrase. Yes, I know they're singing it. But then the phrasing says, then he that made him, Barak, then Barak made him that remaineth have dominion over the nobles among the people. I don't know, I just want to know who it is. Hey, stop. Sorry. My cat was taking the table covering off the table.
You have a tiny terror too.
Yes. Little terror. Out of Ephraim, because it felt like it was important, because out of Ephraim was there a root of them against Amalek. It just felt like when we read it before, I was like, oh, there's something there. But yeah, maybe it's just the way the song's written, Alvina. Could be.
But then I'm thinking, like, what? The way everybody else just kind of chilled, the other tribes.
Yeah.
Does that mean was it just that they were expected to? Were they required to and just didn't act? Or was that maybe like the father going like, it just kind of figured because these are your brethren that you would act without, me saying like you have to. I don't know. There's so much to that, but they all just kind of like, Dan he's like, no, just hanging out on the boat. Thanks for the.
Well, look, the end of verse 15, for the divisions of Reuben, there were great thoughts of heart. Again, verse 16, for the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. It has to be a different phrasing in a different translation.
Yeah. That's what it says.
So only out of Ephraim was there a root against Abimelech. Everybody else was, twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah, but how often though were they told, don't even send anybody to fight unless their heart is in it?
True that.
If they even have a fear, they're not allowed to go into combat.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then also, too, what about where they had thousands and thousands and thousands of men willing to fight, and they dwindled it down to 300 men because to prove that it was Yah going against the armies to give the victory. That's what you kept saying while we were reading. Yeah, exactly.
And there were horse hooves broken by the means of, said the angel of Yahuwah.
My restored scriptures say, sacred, anyway, it's the restored name version. It's saying that among the divisions of Reuben, there were great resolves of heart. So some of them obviously stayed and some said, no, I'm going to go fight.
Okay.
Gilad stayed in the garden, and why did Dan remain in ships? Asher continued at the seashore and stayed by his inlets. Zebulun is a people who jeopardized their soul to the point of death. Naphtali also on the heights of the field. So there was a division in the line of Reuben. Wow.
So there was an angel in verse 23 that cursed Meroz. Curse ye Meroz, said the angel of Yahuwah. Curse ye bitterly the inhabitants thereof, because they came not, they came not to help of Yahuwah, to help of Yahuwah against the mighty. Okay, so it's just Murrah. Who's Murrah's? Where does he come from? But he was cursed. But an angel cursed him. Who's this angel? An angel has the ability to curse? I'm sure it does, but that's just very interesting. All of a sudden there's an angel or a messenger in amongst all of this happening.
Well, what about verse 20? From heaven the stars fought.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I picked up on that.
I was just reading that. They fought for the skies. The stars from their courses fought against Sisera.
What?
Yersa. Yeah, that's what my version says.
They fought from heaven.
From
Okay.
the
So okay, what does that look like?
A meteor storm.
Maybe.
What did you say, Matt?
Said maybe.
Oh, well, okay. We don't fight against flesh and blood.
That's what I was going to say. Where are they fighting from now?
Right.
So, I mean, okay, so remember who is it? Is it Elisha and Elijah? You know, he then he was able to see what was happening. Like Abba was given the ability to see what was happening outside of this natural, you know, you can see your hands and toes and whatever. It was able to give him a vision.
It
Not
was
a vision,
his assistant.
Elisha.
Elisha's
Okay.
assistant, right? Let's go get them. There's only two of them. He
Yes.
said, Lord, open
How can we
his
do this? Yeah. Okay. There's lots of messengers, i.e. angels, for war. Right? Okay. Okay, wait. See, like I remember a couple months ago having a very, very, very quick light discussion just in passing, and I didn't want to comment because I didn't really know if I had an opinion on it, and I still don't know if I have an opinion on it. But the idea was that we're not called to go to war now because there is no war that God is calling us to. Like he's not calling us to go fight so-and-so or fight so-and-so or fight so-and-so. So then why are we going to war to fight these people because of some noble concept to, you know, protect our borders here across the pond or whatever? Like what war is a legitimate war that Abba is calling us to? So now this person's comment in passing was just that these wars are futile. It's not the war that we're supposed to be a part of. So then he's not going to protect you there. Or he's not calling you to that. That's not our war. And I'm like, well, I mean, what does that mean? You know?
He did give us all borders, and he did separate everybody into 70 nations. So you don't want your neighbor coming into your land and taking over. You have to fight them off.
Yeah. 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 But I guess as a people, like, I mean, there's some I don't know, like this concept of that there's something outside of what we see in the natural, right? The natural is so limited. Mm-hmm. So
No,
Go ahead.
I was just agreeing. Sorry.
Oh, there's more. There's another here. I don't know, like. When you're in your house, how many of us believe that we have angels standing in our house or standing outside of our house? How many
I know
of us
I do. I ask for them. I ask Yah for them.
So I think, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it now again.
Interesting. Landon?
On
what are your
both sides.
thoughts?
Ma'am?
What are your thoughts, Landon?
On both sides, a part of me and Jonathan were talking about something before the show, and I was telling him how the Father used people that were operating with a darker realm. He used that to glorify. How do I say this? The Father knows how my mind works, right? And so, because I had rejected everything that had anything to do with God, and I wasn't speaking with Him, and I opened up doors, and these people that were interacting with a realm, so to speak, that I couldn't see. Like sometimes it would be like a dark shadow, stuff like that. But the Father used that when it clicked, when I saw that, and I was like, wait, if that's real, and then you can feel the presence of that sort of thing, and the hate, and just how much it just dark that it is. And when it clicked for me to see that and go, if that's real, then like we're at war. Like this is serious. Like all of this is true. It's not a joke. It's not allegories. Like this is real. And so it's interesting how at the very beginning the Father used that to bring, to shift my focus onto Him. But it also speaks to me that in some instances, such as the Witch of Endor, or other instances in the Bible, there are people that operate with the other side of things. So there are absolutely powers, principalities, spirits, and angels around us all the time. There are things that are going on around us constantly, but the world has indoctrinated us to focus on our five senses. Yet, if something's wrong with one of your babies, like mama knows, it doesn't matter if she's 300 miles away or if they're in the next room and they're choking on something. When that's a part of that spirit realm. So, and I would even dare to say that maybe it's something of the Father just saying, "Hey, go check on him," But we can only explain it in I felt something. So that stuff is all around us, like constantly. Just yeah.
Mm-hmm. I welled up in tears when I was reading verse 28. And the mother of Sisera looked out at a window and cried through the lattice, "Why is his chariot so long in coming? Why tarry the wheels of his chariot?" Ugh, that made me think of crying out to Abba, like, what's taking so long?
Yeah.
Her wise ladies answered her, she returned answer to herself. What does that mean?
It says, indeed, she answers herself. I think
they said yeah, and then she just
maybe just
yeah, now he's
responded.
back at the window. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the mom of the guy that was just killed, right?
No, this is Deborah. Oh, no, not Deborah. No, it's Jael.
Yeah.
Sorry. Jael, the wife that killed Sisera. Or the wife that killed the mother. Oh, wait. Sorry, I misread. I'm sorry. The mother of Sisera looked out the window. Why is his chair? Oh, for goodness sakes.
Oh, that's his mother, the dead guy's mother.
I totally misread that.
And I think that, oddly enough, it kind of speaks to what I was kind of just saying. It's like, she saw it, she knew that something was wrong, and her princess has turned to her and
Right.
is like, you've given yourself the answer. Like, there's no kind way to say it. And that is painful. That yeah.
Okay, let's go on to Matthew. Matayahu.
Matthew.
Okay, so Matt's going to lead this section.
I was waiting for you to blow up his picture.
I did think it was interesting how they thought he was a spirit. So clearly they had knowledge of like
What a spirit was.
yeah.
That's what good guys do.
I wonder that too. Was it the knowledge? Was it that that knowledge, or was it a bunch of superstition, like in their traditions?
Well, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah.
thinking that they were aware of stuff like that happening.
Probably too many movies.
too many, too many shots of meat around the campfire. I'll tell you what, you see some strange things on the water, even if it's not the ocean.
Yeah.
And that there's a reason that the sailors have all these really strange beliefs and superstitions. So I can kind of see that, especially since there was a few fishermen in their group.
Yeah, I've seen some odd stuff.
That's old.
Fourth watch of the night.
Yes,
When is the
God,
fourth
they
watch
got
of the night?
caught in that fishing net 3 years ago and drowned.
Fourth watch, just before daybreak. Fourth watch at night is just before daybreak, right?
Like the 2 to
Depends on the
6.
time of year, but yeah.
That's the 3 hours, 3 to 6, something like that.
We called it something else, but basically midnight to 4 a.m.
No, that's not 4. That's half.
Midnight to 4 a.m. If it's summer, that's going to be right before sunrise. The watch before morning.
True.
So the fourth watch changes in a different season? Shouldn't it just stay the same?
No, just the sun comes
Does the
up.
sun rise at the same time? How many,
No.
how many hours of daylight do you have up there in Canada right now?
Not a lot.
In fact,
We're in darkness. It's all darkness here.
Looks pretty light to me behind you.
You know what? It's like there's hope because now I think at around 5:30 you can still see light on the horizon. So it's nice.
So this is so typical of us. We're all like, yeah, I'm gonna walk on the water. I'm walking on the water. I'm out here, woohoo! And then we start looking around. We're like, uh-oh. We take our eyes off Jesus. We start to sink, and then we say, help me, help me. And he reaches down and grabs us out of there.
time and time again.
Yeah, because we're dumb, and yeah.
Sometimes he just leaves me there, actually. I don't know about you guys.
You're gonna have to tread water for a while. I'll be back to get you in a bit.
Yeah, it's funny because I had a friend that had one of those old-fashioned fans with like the welded wire cage around it that you could stick like an adult's foot through. And I said, "Wow, you had that with your children growing up? Did you tell them not to touch it?" And he said, "Oh no." I said, this is him, you know. I told them they could touch it, but if you touch it, it's gonna hurt really bad. I said, "Oh, okay." I like that method of parenting.
Yeah, don't be
Once
sticking
they-
that fork in there.
Once they're gonna believe you.
Don't stick that fork in there. Oh, go ahead, try it, see what happens, you know?
Yep.
It's gonna hurt. You're gonna get buzzed.
I was just thinking, I'm glad Jesus doesn't have the characteristics of like some of the adults when I was growing up teaching us how to swim. It's like,
Oh,
all right, today we're gonna walk on water. Go.
The girls were asking about that about a month or so ago. They were asking about, well, no, Harmony was. Well, can we still walk on water? And I'm like, no. Why? Not everybody's meant to. Hello. We're not all meant to walk on water, or we're not all meant to, you know, be in a chariot whisked up to the heavens. We're not all. Oh. Disgusting. Sorry. Ugh. Anyways, yeah. Ugh.
It made me think about, and I don't have this all put together, because I'm not saying that it was by Peter's. It wasn't from power within him. But as we were reading it, I made the connection of Jesus not being able to do many miracles, and it was at Galilee because of the lack of faith, or it was in his hometown. Like he couldn't do much.
He could
because-
heal, but he couldn't do anything else, really. He could
Right.
work almighty miracles because their faith was so little or something like that.
Right. And I was thinking of how there's something where he took his focus off of Jesus, and because of that, his faith kind of started, and that it began the how he began to sink. And so I'm not saying it was like the power was all within him, because it wasn't, but it just it made me think of how important faith is. And I believe there's a verse that says he that I don't want to misquote it. It's something about faith, that there's a great reward for those that are faithful, that believe through faith in God.
I think too, like when I'm thinking about that seed that you sow, right? You sow it on rocky ground, you sow it on thorny ground, you sow it on that kind of thing. So I think that he had faith, it was just little. But and then the stress and the storm or fear consumed him, and then he started to sink. I think that those that are called to be Abbas have to be tested. They have to be tested. Like Abba didn't, like Yeshua didn't have to, he could have calmed the storm and allowed Peter to walk on calm water, but he didn't. Right?
Ooh.
So I think like there are tests that we're supposed to go through that are called to be his.
Mhm.
And so if you can be proved by fire, like we need to be tested here, right? Like I'd rather go through an intense storm here, and he could there do no mighty work. Okay, yeah. So I think that just the storm had to happen. To like same with later on when Peter forsakes him. That was another. It was another test. It was another proving. But because the difference between Peter forsaking Yeshua and Judas forsaking Yeshua, because Judas wasn't called to be his. He was a vessel of dishonor. So I think that if you're called to be Abbas, pray that you're called to be a vessel of honor, and then embrace the storms that you're going through, Gwen, and learn to trust him so that you don't become a vessel of dishonor. Ooh, holy, I'm gonna have to think about that some more.
But that's kind of what Landon and I were talking about earlier too, with the he can use the vessels of dishonor to bring about his will.
Yeah, but I don't want to be a vessel of dishonor.
I know I don't want to either, but he can use a vessel of honor. And then kind of like you and I were discussing the other day too, a vessel can be filled with ickiness or it can be filled with yumminess, right? The same vessel.
Yeah.
And if, like we were talking about a couple of years ago, right, talking about the spirits being poured out and spirits being drank. If you drink of an unclean spirit, you fill that vessel. Is that now a vessel of dishonor? And if that unclean spirit is displaced by the Holy Spirit, is it now a vessel of honor?
Mhm.
I think remembering those scriptures, like meditating on the truth and taking every thought captive. Oh, just gosh, these are just piercing my heart right now. It hurts. But like, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, that's a good example.
Wait, what? Did you just say you don't want to talk about it?
No way.
No, because if I have to start talking about it, then I'm accountable for what I'm going to say live, and then I have to.
Wow, that folks, you heard it here.
Right Write it down on the calendar, people.
I know.
No. It's just, I mean, oh my gosh, I just rather, I don't know. Oh, my flesh. Oh.
But if you look at like Paul is an example. All right, so he's self-righteous and such that he was doing the world's bidding, the religious system. He was well educated and all that, and so he had this sense of what he thought God wanted him to be, and then, he was persecuting the very people that he would later, try to be writing letters to and fellowship with. So, in a sense, I mean, I see that worldly religious view as a vessel of dishonor, persecuting, others, but then being completely changed around. I mean, that just speaks to someone being, filled with the Spirit and changing everything for the Father and for Christ.
Oh, you remember that time when Paul was coming after us with his papers and they knocked him off his horse? Oh, boy. Okay, that's enough, guys. I didn't know what I was doing.
Like when we're at home alone, we can be still vessels of honor and dishonor when we're all by ourselves at home.
Yep.
Alone. So we don't have to be around any other human species. We can still carry this thing of my heart's just breaking.
Oh, baby. Such a love.
You need your cat. Where's the kitty? Come on, kitty.
Oh my gosh.
That Ranger on your lap.
The water works. Somebody turn on the faucet.
Yeah. Put him in a jar, lock him up. Oh.
Hey, this is not Harry Potter. Knock it off.
What? No, I'm thinking
Well,
of scripture. Tears.
I heard I know he'll wipe all our tears away, but I don't know put them in a jar.
No, not a jar.
I thought there was a passage in there that says he puts our tears in a jar.
That he keeps them or something.
He saves them for it because
Find Landon, quickly.
Better and better.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's in there somewhere.
Sounds like something from The Shack.
I haven't watched it.
No, I just read it not too long ago.
Come on. Oh.
In the shack?
Oh, I read that book like when it first came out.
Friggin' wait, I read it too. I read it a long time ago. Like way before I was woke.
Yeah,
It did help me a little
me
bit,
too.
but okay, wait. What does I say? Hang on, we gotta find it and prove these guys wrong. Will keep
Tears in a jar.
or rather stores them up for us or something. But I'm thinking
he's storing some.
that's where I store things, jars.
Oh no.
Did you find it?
That's not it.
Proverbs? No. Keep track of all my sorrows. Well, no, that's not the one I wanted.
Tell us, man. I want to put that.
Hang on.
Psalms 56:8. Thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears into thy bottle. Are they not in thy book? I don't know what that.
That sounds a lot closer than jar. Okay.
Oh, bottle, jar,
Way to
vase,
go, Landon.
clay pot.
I apologize.
Hey,
You have to- I mean, all the other ones that I said is in there somewhere. We don't always find it.
I know. Yes, ma'am. I know this is way back, but what do you think the significance of that young lady giving him a skin with milk in it versus water?
Buttering him up because milk would put him to sleep.
Make him tired, yeah. I used to think that was a myth until I tried it.
Warm milk?
Well, why do you think?
Yeah, you don't
Yeah,
know.
like warm-
Milk, it changes the chemical composition to
It takes the lactase The lactose to lactase. And that's the sleepy kind.
And they didn't have a fridge back then, so
My
it was
grandpa just
warm.
my grandpa just did like a cup of warm water before he went to bed, acted the same way. Made him sleepy.
Yes, but didn't have dreams about cottage cheese.
I don't know. He never told me.
Okay. Interesting. Biles.
What
What was it? Psalms 56:8.
He ate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's not those tears that you cry when, you're busted and you have no remorse, or you're just busted because you got caught, not remorseful. Because I've cried lots of
broken-hearted tears and tears that you cried for other people.
Fake tears.
What's that
I'm
noise?
gonna cry right now.
Oh.
Fake tears with actual.
So there's a concept of keeping tears in a bottle, like the lady, verse 37, and Luke 7:37-38. That's where the woman washed Jesus's feet with her tears. And I don't know the translation, but because it doesn't say which one it's translated from, but it's
Lynn and Matt, you guys can kind of attest to someone walking through the desert in sandals. How many tears is that to be totally clean someone's feet?
Well, she was forgiven a lot, right? If it's the same woman that was forgiven from before.
Tears. It's a lot.
Yeah, like the remorse and the sadness and the love and the.
Not just turn it into mud, but to clean them.
bloop, 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 bloop.
You can go around in summer here with your sandals,
Sandals. Mm-hmm.
and it takes you a minute or two with the hose to get everything off your feet. So I mean, that's a healthy amount of tears. Yeah. I'm not.
Keith said that he must have had dirty feet.
But if you
Man, I
think how
didn't know.
little the tear is compared to, she would just have to be crying profusely. And who wouldn't,
Who hasn't?
Right?
Never had a jar though. That's an interesting thing to do in the morning, and
Would have been a big jar.
like, every whipping you ever got as a kid, and mom's like, "No, you cry in the jar."
You hold one on each side, and we're gonna.
It's apparently like detoxifying to cry. If you cry, you actually detoxify your body.
You clean out those emotions that you're storing inside in your organs.
Yeah.
Supposedly, too, they have noted that there's different chemical composition to different tears. So, like if you get tears from laughing, it's different than tears from sadness.
Just like back in the day when I was, I don't know if it was still just back in the day, maybe it's still present, but when I was like dealing with food and I would angry eat, right? And I used to say, like, I'm eating anger. I could be eating an apple, but if I was angry, I felt like I was ingesting anger, whether it was a healthy item that I was eating or not a healthy item I was eating, but I was eating angry. And I legitimately felt that was my truth, at least my own body's reaction to that concept, because my body was so sick, right? And I believe it was because I was eating anger. And what does anger do to your body, right?
It goes in your liver and messes up your blood sugar.
Yeah, all kinds of things.
Gives you cancer.
Or eating fear.
Yeah, we're designed to let those emotions go in a healthy way. Oh,
Woohoo! Life in the desert.
Oh, yeah, GR, that would hurt.
That's the first piece of cactus I stepped on, but I was walking barefoot.
That's the first cactus my cat got into out in the desert chasing a rabbit, and I was pulling them spines out of his mouth forever.
Mm.
It was bad.
Okay, I'm done now. I'm gonna go.
Wait, you have to look at your new title. Bueno. Okay.
Oh, JJ, if I could look you in the eye, I would. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, what is that outside your window? Is that
Sunlight? I know, and it's really going to be really nice. It's going to be like -4 this afternoon.
Looks great. That's warming up.
I know. Woohoo!
Oh, there's no more snow on the trees. Oh, just a tiny little bit.
Can almost wear
It is
shorts.
Well,
Okay.
okay. I love you all. I'm going to go now.
We love you too, Gwen.
Okay.
Bye, Gwen.
See you, Gwen.
Laters.
Laurie, a jumping cactus is a
Choya.
cholla cactus. It comes in multiple different species and they grow in pods. So like if you were able to cut my finger off and then connect it like that, and then each section would be surrounded in thorns.
And they've got hooks on the end.
They're barbed, right? So that when they go in, they don't want to come out. And you have all kinds of multiple different types. In my opinion, the worst is the
Jumping.
teddy bear. The
Mhm.
one because it has a sheath of paper on each one of the spines. It's a party that you weren't invited to. And the reason it's called jumping cholla is because these cactus will grow these segments so long that they just plop off. They just fall off. And then the wind can also blow them off. So it gives the appearance of that it jumps up.
Yep. And you barely have to touch them and they grab you.
Yep.
And I live on Choya Street. We do not call it Chala.
Cholla.
I mean, people
Oh,
in Chala. I'm like, seriously?
Oops. I can't spell it.
CHOLLA.
I know.
It's crazy to me that the animals out there can still eat those cactuses. They still find a way to eat all the cactuses out around my property out there.
Yeah.
Well, when dogs get them in their mouth, they don't have to worry about it too much because their saliva breaks down those thorns. But not cats. They don't have that same kind of thing. But I used to pull them. I used to pull it out of the dogs too after they come back from hunting. One of our dogs would just pull it out, and then the other one would be like, "Ah, help me!"
All right. Anybody else have any insight into this week's reading? What's that? Spring worded.
What was that?
Giraffe, eat it, no problem.
Well, their tongues are super tough.
I'm not going to eat giraffe, okay?
They say
half black and half pink tongue.
you have a lot longer to reflect on your life's mistakes if you're a giraffe stuck in quicksand.
Raise your arms. You won't sink farther than your armpits.
All right. We're going to let everybody go. Thank you very much for joining this week. Thank you, Landon and Lynn and Matt for reading. Oh, and Gwen.
Oh, yeah, Gwen, too. It's
Thank
been
you,
a
Gwen.
pleasure.
Gwen.
Gwen.
Notice how when the light came out at her house, she's all, I'm out of here.
Yep. I see sun. I'm going.
So everybody have a beautiful week. Keep your eye open for extra videos, and we will talk to you soon. Love you.
Pleasure.
Back.